Hi, I'm Kat and these are all of the books that I have read recently, or also known as my summer wrap-up. So this last summer, I read next to nothing. I have 5 books on this list, so that's 5 books I've read in the last 3 months. My TBR is screaming at me, but let's get into my thoughts on the books I did read. So first up we have Of Light and Darkness by Shane Layton, and I gave this 3 stars. So this is the book that you get for free when you sign up to the publisher, the Parliament House's newsletter. I believe Shane is also the owner of the Parliament House. I enjoyed it enough. It's full of vampires and witches and werewolves and elves. 15-year-old me would have loved it. But now I just felt like it was a little slow and I was a little bored in parts. It's a story of a human girl who is abandoned as a baby and then a vampire adopts her. She grows up in this village full of supernatural creatures, but no one actually likes or trusts vampires. And then also this elven prince falls in love with her and shit goes down. Number 2 is the one that everyone's been waiting for, and that is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. So I gave this one 3 stars. It's definitely one of those books that gets crazy overhyped and I had high expectations and it just didn't meet them. I enjoyed it and I had no idea where the story was gonna go, and I still don't with the rest of the series. It was not what I expected it to be though. Games spelled with tribes? And we're being invaded. See you when the war begins. The main character spends the majority of the story in like his school's version of the Hunger Games, but with tribes. I'm currently reading Golden Sun. I have put that on hold for a second, but I will get back to it. I'm just a little underwhelmed with the whole series, but I will get back to Golden Sun because I've heard that it's the best of the series. So over Christmas I had the urge to reread Twilight. So I did, and I gave it 4 stars still. I legit own 5 copies of this book and 4 of them are back home, so I had choices of which edition to read. I expected going into it being like, oh no, it's not as good as I remember, but I still fucking love this book. Bella and Edward are a bit too codependent on each other, but I still had a good time reading this. It doesn't pretend to be better than it is, and I had so much nostalgia with it. Also, random AF side note, one of my oldest friends just got married and she walked down the aisle to 1,000 Years, and while I was super emotional at one of my oldest friends getting married, I was also like, she clearly doesn't remember that time we went to the cinema together for the midnight screening of Breaking Dawn Part 2, and this was the song playing during the closing credits and I was bawling my eyes out while sitting next to her. And next up is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I gave this 4 stars. I know I'm late on the hype train for this one, but I enjoyed it so much. I picked it up at the airport from my flight home to Melbourne from Sydney, and it was somehow $13 cheaper at the airport than it was in bookstores. I first read it physically, and then after I finished, I immediately placed a hold for the audiobook from my library. I usually have a really tough time with audiobooks because I get distracted so easily, but I wanted to give this one a try because it's set in an interview format and it's a full cast. And it turns out that works perfectly for me. So almost a month and a half after I placed that hold, I finally got the audiobook and I have just finished reading it. I was listening to it while also reading along to, avoid all of that easily distraction. Funnily enough, I listened to it on my flights between Melbourne and Adelaide last week. This book will just forever be associated with flights with me now. Also, on the flight to Adelaide, I sat down, immediately started listening to this while the plane was still filling up, and then people are walking past me to get to their seats, and then this band, well, I'm assuming they were a band, but they definitely look like it, that was like straight out of the 70s walked past me. Coincidence? And lastly, I have A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Camera, which I gave 3 stars. This was one of the YA Rooms Book of the Month. We did also read A Curse So Dark and Lonely back when. And Bloomsbury sent me this copy, so thank you, Bloomsbury. And this copy is also signed because at the YA Room book meet, Bloomsbury had given them book plates to give to us. So this is book 2 in this series and I enjoyed it. I liked Leah. Gray has chemistry with everyone, but I was annoyed with just how long it took me to read it though. There were points where I was just so frustrated that I hadn't finished the book yet and there was still more to go. Just didn't feel like I was getting through it. So that was probably a combination of the reading slump I'm in and also that I just didn't really care about what happened to the characters. I also read this thinking the series was a duology. It is not. So there you go, there are the books that I have read recently. Please comment down below if you have read any of them. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to see more of my videos.